Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I don't think I ever meant to fall into the background of my own marriage. It's not like I woke up one day and decided, hey, why not become invisible to the person you share a bed with? But I think that's the worst part, how slow it happens. How little by little, piece by piece, you start fading into a version of yourself that barely casts a shadow in your own home. We weren't always like that. I married Amanda because she was sharp, driven, magnetic in that way that drew a room toward her even when she wasn't trying. She didn't need attention. That's what made her stand out. At least, that's how I remember it. Maybe I was wrong all along. I'm 36 now. We've been married 7 years. I work in IT, not glamorous, but I'm good at what I do. Steady income, reliable schedule, no complaints. I'm not flashy. I've never been. I don't show up with grand romantic gestures or poetry scribbled on napkins, but I showed up. Every day. Grocery lists, laundry, back rubs, date nights, all of it. I wasn't the guy who blew up her phone with roses and cheesy lines. I was the guy who never let her down. At least, I thought that mattered. Somewhere between her promotion last year and the start of her influencer side hustle, Amanda changed. It wasn't overnight, but the signs added up. She went from being this grounded, sarcastic, kind of weird in a good way person to someone performative. Like her life had become a stage, and I was just crew behind the curtains. She stopped asking about my day, started checking her phone during dinners, laughed harder at strangers' comments online than she ever did at my jokes. And every time I tried to talk about it, to bring her back, she'd wave me off like I was needy or dramatic. You're just too sensitive lately, she'd say. Chill. But the real gut punch came 2 months ago. We were having dinner with some of her work friends, fancy restaurant, overpriced everything. I was trying to hold conversation with this finance bro who kept calling me tech guy, like I didn't have a name. Meanwhile, Amanda was telling some story about her company's retreat, and I made a small joke about how she never takes me anywhere tropical. I swear to God, she looked me in the eye, smirked, and said, loud enough for the whole table to hear, "Maybe when you learn how to earn my attention, I'll consider it." The table erupted in laughter. My ears burned. I forced a smile, raised my glass, and tried to drink the heat out of my face. On the ride home, she was tipsy, legs crossed in the passenger seat, scrolling her phone like nothing had happened. I asked her, quietly, "Why would you say that?" She didn't even glance up. "Oh, don't be so soft. It was a joke. Loosen up." I said nothing. That was the moment. Not when I found messages. Not when she came home late reeking of perfume I didn't buy. Not when she started sleeping with her back to me. No, it was that sentence. That smirk. Earn my attention. I remember the exact inflection, the way her lips curved like she was challenging me to feel smaller than I already did. That night, I laid awake next to her, staring at the ceiling while she snored softly beside me. I realized I was married to someone who had stopped seeing me. And worse, someone who enjoyed reminding me that I was invisible. So I stopped trying. I didn't stop caring. Not yet. But I stopped chasing her like a dog begging for scraps. I stopped asking her how her day went. Stopped waiting for her to ask about mine. Stopped trying to be the guy who made her laugh or look up from her phone. And she didn't even notice. Not for the first few days. Maybe even a week. But then, little cracks started to show. She started sighing when I didn't greet her with a kiss. Asking, why so quiet, when I didn't fill the silence with stories she never listened to anyway. She started glancing at me over her wine glass during dinner, like I was a TV show that used to be good but now just confused her. I kept it up. Polite. Distant. Present. But unreachable. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I didn't even withdraw affection in some manipulative tit-for-tat move. I just disengaged. That was the beginning of the end for Amanda, and she didn't even know it yet. The weird thing is how fast people notice when you stop feeding the ego they built their whole personality around. It started small. Amanda had always been one of those people who needed to dominate a room, whether it was a boardroom or our living room. She needed the last word, the sharpest joke, the smirk that let you know she was in control of the moment. But now, every time she baited me with some sarcastic jab or smug little test, I didn't take the hook. I just nodded, or didn't respond at all. She hated it. At first, she pretended she didn't care, rolled her eyes and mumbled, "God, you're so moody lately." Then she upped her game. Started dressing better at home, parading around in lingerie that used to be reserved for birthdays or hotel nights. I didn't say a word. One night she dropped a throwaway comment, "If I didn't know better, I'd think you were cheating." I looked at her and said flatly, "If you didn't know better, we'd have a real conversation." She blinked. No anger. No denial. She just stared at me like she was trying to read something in my face she didn't recognize anymore. That's when the pendulum started to swing. Slowly, but unmistakably. She stopped mocking me outright. But she also stopped trying to connect. She started going out more. Happy hours turned into full evenings out. Late-night strategy meetings that ended with her stumbling and smelling like someone else's cologne and vanilla body spray. Once, I offered to make dinner, and she laughed, not cruel, just distant. "Don't bother. I'm having sushi with Marcus." I asked, "Marcus from your team?" She froze for half a second too long. "No, from marketing. He's new. Big group thing." Sure it was. Amanda had always been decent at hiding things, not perfect, but just slippery enough that if you weren't looking too hard, nothing stood out. But I was looking now. She used to leave her phone face up. Lately, it was face down or in her purse. Used to shower after dinner. Now it was the first thing she did when she got home. Her passwords changed. She kept Bluetooth off unless she was in her car. I didn't ask questions. Didn't pick fights. I just started paying attention. The first real clue came on a Thursday. She came home late, said she was out with coworkers, networking. When she kissed me on the cheek, I could smell wine and something faint underneath it, woodsy, like a man's cologne. Not mine. Not anything I own. She tossed her heels into the corner, unzipped her dress with an almost theatrical sigh, and padded barefoot to the bathroom. I stood in the hallway. She hadn't noticed I was still watching her when she peeled off her bra, caught her reflection in the mirror, and smiled to herself in this slow, satisfied kind of way I hadn't seen in years. She didn't know I saw it, but I did. And in that second, I knew. She wasn't just mocking me anymore. She was replacing me. The next day, I checked her car before she left for work. I told her I left my wallet in there and waited until she was brushing her teeth. She tossed me the keys like she couldn't care less. Under the passenger seat, a receipt for a hotel downtown. 2 glasses of wine. A dessert. Single room. King bed. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I slid the receipt into my jacket pocket and made a note of the hotel's name. Then I waited until Sunday. She said she had a client brunch, and I played dumb. "Oh, cool," I said. "Marcus again?" She paused. "No, just the girls." I nodded. When she left, I waited exactly 20 minutes and drove downtown. Parked a block away from the hotel. Watched the entrance from my car. An hour later, she walked out with Marcus. Same guy from her Instagram stories last week. He looked like a finance bro, the kind who wears slim-fit pants and calls waiters chief. She touched his arm as they laughed. The kind of touch you only give someone you're sleeping with or planning to. I took a picture. And then I left. Still didn't say a word. Because this wasn't about catching her. Not yet. Not in the way she expected. This was about letting her think I didn't know. Letting her believe she still had the upper hand. That I was still the man begging for her attention while she played games and borrowed beds. Because what I had in mind wasn't confrontation. It was exposure. But first, I had to get everything in place. By the end of that week, I had every piece I needed. Phone records? Got M, thanks to a buddy in IT who owed me a favor. Her marketing team meetings were really long drives to downtown hotels. One of them was a place we'd stayed at on our anniversary, back when she still gave a damn about stuff like that. I don't think she even remembered. Credit card statements? Sloppy. Wine bars. Fancy sushi joints. One charge at a spa that listed couples package in the itemized breakdown. She wasn't just cheating. She was romanticizing it. But none of that was what got to me. What broke something permanent inside me was a conversation I overheard, not because I was snooping, but because she forgot to take her Bluetooth off when I got in her car to run an errand. Her phone auto-connected to the stereo. The call came to the speakers, and I froze before even turning the key in the ignition. "Amanda, no, he hasn't said a thing. That's the best part." Other voice, "Marcus, damn. He really just lets you get away with it." She laughed. That smug, breathy little laugh she used to save for after sex. "Amanda, of course. He's too boring to cheat, too proud to ask, and too scared to leave. He just exists. Marcus, you're savage." "Amanda, no. I'm just done pretending to worship someone who doesn't even try anymore. He lost me years ago." Then the call cut out. I sat there for a long time, staring out the windshield, listening to the engine tick as the car settled. Too boring to cheat. Too proud to ask. Too scared to leave. She was wrong on all 3 counts. That night, I made dinner. Lit candles. put on that old jazz playlist she used to love. She came home in a black dress too fancy for meetings, red lipstick, a faint hickey just under her collarbone, not even fully covered. She looked surprised by the effort. "Oh, what's this?" I smiled. "Just thought we could talk." She hesitated. "Talk? About us? About everything?" She looked at me like I was an amateur boxer stepping into the ring for the first time. "Okay," she said slowly, slipping her heels off. "We ate." I asked her about her day. She lied. I nodded. When the plates were cleared, I poured us both a drink and slid the hotel receipt across the table. She stared at it. Didn't touch it. Didn't flinch. "That yours?" I asked. She looked up with the most condescending smirk I'd ever seen on her face. "Are you snooping now?" "No," I said. "Just paying attention." She picked up the receipt, skimmed it, and set it down. Her mouth twitched like she was deciding how honest to be. She went with a shrug. "I could explain it," she said, "but I don't feel like justifying something that never mattered in the first place." No, she said, like I was being childish for even asking. "You haven't really been my husband for a long time." That one stung. Not because it was true, but because of how casually she said it. Like she was telling me we were out of milk. "I see," I said. She leaned back, arms crossed. "So what now? You gonna cry? Scream? Pack your bags and go stay at your mom's?" I took a sip of my drink. "No. I just wanted to give you one last chance." She narrowed her eyes. "A chance for what?" "To stop lying. To be a human being. To maybe show a sliver of decency before this all falls apart." She laughed, actually laughed. "Decency? After everything I put up with? You think this is about cheating? This is about the fact that I outgrew you. I leveled up, and you stayed the same." I set my glass down. "And I think that's the first real thing you've said in months." She tilted her head. "So what now?" I stood up, grabbed my phone from the table, and tapped the screen. From the hallway, a soft chime echoed, the printer in my home office warming up. "I'm moving out," I said. "Tomorrow." She blinked. "You're serious?" "Dead. I thought you'd—" "No," I interrupted. "You thought I'd break. Or beg. Or cling. Because that's how you designed this whole game. But here's what you didn't account for, me realizing how little of you I'd miss." She stood up, fist clenched. "You think you'll find better? You think someone else will put up with you?" I smiled, cool and quiet. "I think you'll find that no one wants what's left after the thrill fades." And then I walked past her, calm and light and finally free of the weight she thought I'd carry forever. I didn't slam the door. Didn't make a scene. I left her standing in that kitchen with the candles burning low and her victory speech crumbling in her throat. The next morning, I was gone before sunrise. No dramatic goodbye. No farewell letter on the nightstand. I took a duffel bag, a box of documents, and my keys, and left the house she once ruled like a queen mocking her court. I moved into a short-term rental not far from work. Clean. Quiet. No scent of her perfume clinging to the sheets. No fake smiles over cold dinners. Just peace, and a growing sense of clarity I hadn't felt in years. Amanda texted me once that day. "Are you seriously doing this?" I didn't respond. The silence must have unnerved her because within hours, she was calling. Voicemails. Then a long message full of backhanded confusion. "You're just walking away? Over one mistake? You didn't even give me a chance to explain. You're not even fighting for this." And that's when I knew I had made the right choice. Because Amanda didn't miss me. She missed the attention, the validation, the emotional punching bag she could beat down every time she felt small in a world that no longer bowed at her feet. But she hadn't realized just how much of her life depended on mine until it started unraveling. First came the bank accounts. I had kept our finances joint for convenience. Bad habit. Stupid, in hindsight. But I'd fixed that within 24 hours. Transferred my direct deposit to a new account. Froze the credit card we shared. Left her with hers, and every auto bill still connected to mine suddenly bounced. I didn't warn her. She messaged me 2 days later. "Why did the gas bill get declined?" I didn't answer. The third day, she showed up at my job. I was in a meeting. My coworker poked her head in. "Al, she says it's urgent." I stepped into the hallway. Amanda stood there in heels too high for noon and lips too red for a weekday. "You seriously think ignoring me is going to fix this?" I kept my voice low. "We're not fixing anything." Her eyes were wide now, searching, not angry. "You don't mean that," she said. "I do. I told you I was bored, that you weren't trying. You disappeared instead of making it work." I leaned in. "You said I had to earn your attention. I did the math. It wasn't worth the cost. She went still. You're being cruel. No, I'm just done. And then I gave her a gift, a small envelope. Inside were printed screenshots. Every hotel booking she made. The Bluetooth call transcript. Her smiling in front of that wine bar, wrapped around Marcus like a prize. Her hand shook when she saw it. Why are you giving me this? Because I'm not going to ruin your reputation, Amanda. You are. She stared at me. You wouldn't dare. I don't have to. I'm not sending this to HR, or your friends, or your family. I'm keeping it. So the next time you open your mouth to twist the story, to paint me as the cold husband who gave up on you, you'll remember this moment. And remember that I didn't fight dirty. I walked away clean. I turned to leave. Wait, what about the house? I didn't answer then, but she found out 3 days later when the sale listing went live. Turns out, I had signed ownership over to myself during a refinancing 2 years ago when her credit was too shot to co-sign. Oops. The listing hit real estate sites at 9 a.m. By noon, she was calling again. 12 missed calls in an hour. I answered the 13th. You're selling the house. You can't do that. I already did. Where the hell am I supposed to go? I don't know, Amanda. Maybe Marcus has a guest room. Dead silence. And then, you're enjoying this. No. I just stopped bleeding for someone who never noticed she was holding the knife. I hung up. She tried damage control after that. Called mutual friends. Claimed we grew apart. That I was going through a weird phase. But people aren't stupid. Especially when I stopped hiding. When I showed up places looking lighter, standing straighter, smiling like a man who'd just been released from something heavy. Meanwhile, she was unraveling. Marcus? Ghosted her. Word got around. No one said it outright, but they all knew. You can only play the victim so long before the truth creeps through the seams. I never once raised my voice. Never posted online. Never exposed her the way I could have. I just let her feel the emptiness she used to accuse me of bringing into our marriage. And it turns out, she didn't like the silence as much as she thought she would. They say silence can be deafening. But what they don't tell you is that some silences are symphonies, especially when they replace the sound of constant belittling. In the weeks after I sold the house, Amanda tried everything. She started with anger. You don't get to just erase 7 years. Then came bargaining. I made mistakes. You made mistakes. We were broken, not beyond repair. Finally, the phase she once mocked in others, desperation. I miss you. I miss us. I didn't realize how much until you were gone. I never responded. I wasn't being cruel. I was being free. Amanda never believed I could be okay without her. She counted on the version of me that stood quietly beside her while she shined, while she sneered, while she played the role of the bored wife waiting for a better option. But I wasn't standing beside her anymore. I was out in the world again, catching up with friends I'd pushed away to keep the peace, saying yes to road trips, laughing without checking if it made someone else roll their eyes, rediscovering the version of myself that didn't walk on eggshells just to avoid a sarcastic remark at dinner. Funny thing is, when you stop giving someone your attention, you also stop giving them your power. Amanda started reaching out to people from our past, people she had once dismissed or avoided. I heard from a mutual friend that she'd been asking around, wondering who I was seeing, what I was doing, how I moved on so fast. I hadn't moved on fast. I had just stopped standing still. Marcus, the guy she risked everything for, didn't even last a month. Turns out, cheating with someone is a hell of a lot more exciting than actually being with them. When the drama died, so did his interest. From what I've heard, her work life took a hit too. She'd built a career on charisma and image, and suddenly, she didn't have either. People started seeing through the performative charm. When the spotlight dimmed, she didn't know how to be in the dark. There's no script for humility when you've spent years treating every interaction like a power play. A few weeks ago, she sent one last message. A voice note this time. Maybe thinking I'd be more likely to hear her out if she spoke directly. Her voice trembled. I know I messed up. I missed the way you used to look at me. Like I mattered. Like I was safe. I didn't appreciate it. I thought attention was something people owed me. But you made me realize something. It's not about earning someone's attention. It's about deserving it. And I don't think I ever deserved you. I listened to it once. Deleted it. Not out of spite. Not because it didn't move me a little. But because I'd already said goodbye the day she told me to earn her attention. I did. By leaving. By building something quieter, stronger, and mine. She built her identity around being chased, worshipped, desired. She never imagined what would happen when someone finally stopped running after her. Never imagined how loud it would be sitting in a room where no one was clapping anymore. Never expected how hollow life could feel when the one person she discarded chose not to look back. And me? I'm good. Really good. Not because I found someone new. Not yet. But because I found something better. Myself, unfiltered and unafraid. And I'll tell you this, when someone tells you to earn their attention, don't take the bait. Just stop giving them yours. Let them sit in the quiet they tried to throw you into. Turns out, they can't handle it nearly as well.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.